Alright, so in today's video, I'm just going to be going over the Night Kape and Horiguchi UFC Fight Night card that went on just a couple of days ago, and then also probably just giving a little bit of an of course I got my alarm. And then just a little bit of an overview of next week's card, which is Rafael Fiziev versus Manuel Torres in UFC Baku, so I will say be ready for an early card next week. But first and foremost, first fight on the card. Tanzilovi versus Shane Collins. Shane Collins outworked Tanzilov over, I'm just going to call him Otari. He outworked Otari over 3 rounds. Outpaced him even though he was getting taken down throughout the entirety of the fight. He was throwing a lot more strikes, landing a lot more strikes, and they seemed to be having a bit more damage. Otari did have a bit more of moments here and there, especially once it was on the ground, but other than that, it was just mostly one-way traffic throughout most of the fight. So good to see Shane Collins getting a win. Cara Rosa, Luana Santos won by decision, mostly by the takedowns and the control time that she had. Other than that, very uneventful fight. I do have to be honest, very uneventful. The prospect of the card, Levon Cholecki versus Leon Shabazian. Leon Shabazian is a younger brother of Edmund Shabazian, and so everybody was thinking very highly of him at the time, not realizing that he was going to throw 0 strikes. And it only took Levon 6 strikes to get this all done. And I have to say, this has got to be one of the worst performances I've ever seen in the UFC. I actually got it right here. It was off 1 kick. Now, do keep in mind, he is in welterweight, and he's 6'4", I believe. So he did have a massive weight cut if he had to. But it only took about 2-3 kicks. Like, that's the fight. 1 body shot. And now, who knows? Cholecki might have, hands of stone. But in order to actually figure out whether or not he's got power, he's got to go up against somebody who actually has a chin, who can actually take a punch. So, good to see from Levon. I wonder what's going to happen next with him. In the welterweight division, it's probably going to be somebody in the top 20. Gaston Bolanos versus Aswell Jr., unanimous decision. Could have gone either way, in all honesty. Michael Aswell Jr. was throwing more of the succession shots, throwing 3-4 shots at a time, whereas Gaston was throwing 1 or 2. But those 1 or 2, especially the body kicks once he turned southpaw, definitely affected Michael Aswell throughout the entirety of the fight. So, once again, very good to see. I would honestly like to see Gaston Bolanos versus Shane Collins in this case. But we'll see how it goes from here. So, next up, Mitraposo and Nascimento. I kind of thought Nascimento won this one. He outstruck him throughout the entirety of the fight, but you do also have to be honest in saying that Mitraposo did land more of the damaging shots. So that's why I'm not too worried about the decision and all that stuff. Also, it's a top 20 fight. If it was a contenders fight or a title shot fight, then I'd be worried, but it was a split decision. Could have gone either way. It was 98 strikes to 54 strikes, both of them landing half of their total strikes that they threw. None of them took each other down. And I mean, Mitraposo got it done, but I don't know how he's going to do up against the top 15 in this division. Nascimento at least had height and reach, whereas Mitraposo, I feel like he's in Alexander Costa with a bit of Alexander Pantoja. But he doesn't have the chin like Pantoja. Bia Mesquita and Melissa Mullins, first round submission, easy, quick, light work. Let's skip over this one. Andre Lima, Kevin Borjas. I saw this one a tiny bit. It was a bit of a back and forth from what I saw. It was a unanimous decision over towards Kevin Borjas. I would actually like to see Kevin Borjas fight the winner, Mitraposo. In this case, I think that would be a great fight. 2 power hitters, have it as like a co-main or a main card on a fight night. It'd be great. And now we have Andre Fili versus Vinicius Oliveira. Now, this is where the controversy does start. Andre Philly was winning the entirety of the first round. You can see right here, 27-22. They are not equal, though, because the entire first round, Vinicius Oliveira, it seemed like he was breaking down physically. Not from punches, not due to punches, but due to himself. Because I remember in the corner, they asked him, does your midsection feel okay? Does your leg feel okay? And he was like, my midsection is not great, but my leg's fine. And he did move a bit weirdly. Now, to be fair, he is a very unorthodox fighter. But you would have thought that he would have taken a bit of, a bit of a more like bladed stance, staying light on the feet. But I guess he was coming in with injuries. And then in the second round, let me see if I can actually pull this up real quick. Let's show it. Is that Manel Cap? Vinicius Oliveira. I think it's this. I think it's this. Right there, right there. It started with a bit of that, it was one-way traffic in the second round. Andre Philly was up against the fence, and then all of a sudden, these downward 6 to 12 elbows start coming out of nowhere. They were only a couple of shots, but to be fair, we do have to think that this is the same exact referee as the one for Ciryl Gane, Alex Pereira, and the same one for, which one was it? I think it was Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane. And it's like, Herb needs to figure things out. Like, refs need to have another, like, yearly seminar with, like, Big John McCarthy, with Mario Yamasaki, discuss stuff about refereeing. Because I feel like it's become a lot more opinionated on what is actually legal and what is not legal. So, I will say, great to see Vinicius Oliveira getting a win. I hate the fact that Andre Philly got another loss. That was not because of him. It was because of both the rule sets and the coincidences that kind of came along with it. And so I would like to see Vinicius Oliveira finally getting a jump into the top 15. Maybe getting somebody like Giga Chikadze, somebody like that. Somebody easy that he can kind of just, bully a little bit, get a good win, and then go into the top 10. Up next, one of the best submissions I think I have seen in a fat minute, if I could show it. Yes. So, first thing, okay, not really, I can't because the fucking screen, actually here, let me just move this up a tiny bit. Because you can see right here, first things first, terrible striking from Magomedov versus Bagdasaryan. To be fair, Bagdasaryan's a very good kickboxer, but he was not ready for it. He came in with a high crotch, got up to the back, took down Emin Shabazian, locked in a body triangle, as you can see right here. And then from there, took it into a modified twister. Now, for those of you that don't know, let me just look up Twister UFC. There's only been 2 to 3 of these twisters. It's been Chang Sang-Yung and Bryce Mitchell, both in the featherweight division, which is very interesting to see. But you can see here that he has the figure 4 triangle, and he grabs his arm, brings it over top, and then usually what you're supposed to do is grab the neck and crank. He grabbed his entire body, neck, and head and just shoved that back. And got the finish. You could see he was hurting. So it's a great win for Magomedov. And a great submission to see, too. It's very eerie, the fact that featherweight has the most uncommon submissions. You've got a Sulev stretch. You got a banana split submission from Magomed Sharipov. Now you have this different modified twister from Magomedov. Fuck off. But either way, great to see. Great to see. Hyder Emil, Christian Rodriguez. Hyder Emil was not covering the head kicks at all. every single head kick that Christian Rodriguez was throwing at first wasn't landing. But you could tell little by little by little that Hyder Emil was starting to counter it, and that Christian Rodriguez was starting to find accuracy on it. Like I'd say about 250 in, Christian Rodriguez just throws a naked power high kick, and Hyder Emil, instead of blocking it, leans backwards and immediately tries to lunge forwards to try to counter. Doesn't work out. And so I think Christian Rodriguez saw that read and was like, oh, if I feint first and then throw it, then I'm catching him on, like, off the guard. And so they were both throwing shots in the pocket, throwing a jab, cross, front hook. At least Hyder Emil was. And then as soon as he was throwing that hook, the chin was exactly exposed. And so from there, Christian Rodriguez was able to get a high kick and knock out Hyder Emil. Great to see. And now for the co-main, Ian Cutelaba versus Navajo Sterling. This was not a great fight for me. I did not like seeing this. It was a lot of Ian Cutelaba playing possum, exploding for 2 or 3 shots, and then from there just going back to, all right, let me march forwards. Navajo Sterling was very slow on the feet. He seemed to be trying to set up shots, but the shots were not getting open as he was throwing them. And so with that, Navajo Sterling, I don't think he's going to be able to get to top 5 so far. He needs to go he needs to work on a couple of things. He needs to get more diverse in his strikes. He can't just be a fencer in Paris with a straight and a jab and think that that's going to get him a title. Unless it's against his teammate Carlos Holberg, then you never know. But I think that him going up against a Khalil Roundtree would actually be very beneficial for him, because it shows the fact that he is able to take the aggression away from the fight and point fight. Because if he's trying to be that type of person... Sorry, I was sitting on my legs. Because if he keeps trying to do this whole fencing thing and point fighting, and he doesn't go up against somebody that's super powerful and explosive, then as soon as he finds somebody who's a bit of both, he's going to be absolutely done for in the first round. But with him going up against somebody like Khalil Roundtree, Alexander Rakic, maybe. Or even, who's that one guy that went up against Paulo Costa? Murgamedov? Is it Murgamedov? Let me check. Azamat Mirzakhanov. I think that Jan Blachowicz or Alonzo Menifield would be a very good test for him. A very good test. So very good to see. Very good to see. Next up, Manel Kape, Kyoji Horiguchi. Finally, Manel Kape getting a win. Even though his last fight was a win, this was a great win for him. He stayed very composed, very distance-oriented, very pot-shotty, but then exploded every once in a while. And he was able to grab a fantastic KO. It wasn't flashy or anything, but it was something where you just go, all right. So they're both standing in the same stance. Comes in with that back hook. You can see Horiguchi starting to stumble. And then it's just ground and pound from there. So, it does seem fight of the night was Oliveira versus Philly, which I do not agree with. And performance of the night was on Manel Kape, which I could agree with because he is the main event. So, but if I had to give my opinion on who would have the performance of the night and the fight of the night, I think performance of the night easily goes to Levon Chiloki. 6 strikes, KOs Shabazian. And I think that performance of the night, or fight of the night in this case, could have been Murtsali Magomedov versus Magdalena Bagassarian, if it was just a tiny bit longer. So, wow, I just got some breaking news that Dustin Poirier recently, what is it? It was on my phone. Retired UFC star Dustin Poirier arrested for alleged public drunkenness Sunday. I mean, it is Father's Day, so I'm all right with that. But either way, I would give this about a 7 out of 10. It was not a great card. but it was something where if you know the UFC fighters that are on the card, it was a great showing. It was a great showing. But next week we do have the Rafael Fiziev versus Manuel Torres fight in Baku, which is going to be happening Saturday at 8 in the morning. 8 in the morning, so we got to remember that. It's going to be very early. But we do have a bunch of very good fights in the beginning of the card. Nazim Sadikov, we got Michelle Ferreira, Shara Magomedov, Rafael Fiziev, Manuel Torres, obviously. Asuan Mabaya versus Charles Johnson, Ikram Alaskarov. Yakayev's on there against Julius Walker. Wow, that's going to be an interesting fight, actually. Ruzaboa versus Puliev. Now this is going to be a good fight. Daniil Donchenko. I'm telling you right now, Daniil Donchenko is a beast in the stand-up. A beast. And then Gene Matsumoto. Jefferson Nascimento. Huh. Wait, what weight class is that? Welterweight. Does it show height? No, because it's a billion-dollar company. Why would they have height? But yeah, nah, this fight card next is going to be, I think, an 8 out of 10. Although it may not perform the same way I think it's going to. But, and then we have, obviously, the Holloway McGregor 2. So, all in all, that's going to be just my whole entire recap of the fight card. I hate the fact that they had those back of the head shots. I do love the fact that there was an incredible submission out of nowhere. But other than that, very uneventful, just in general. So either way, I guess I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.